All right, so what I'm going to start with, for anybody that's not familiar at all with the JTL, who's on right now, I told the story in the last one, but I'm going to kind of tell this real quick. Before I started YouTube, like, honestly, I watched a bunch of different reviewers, different people, and I wanted to get a good idea of kind of how people approached YouTube. And the one thing, when I ran across the JTL, is the first person I saw that was like blatantly telling people how much he didn't like a headphone. And I don't remember which one it is. It was probably I think the Turtle Beach Stealth 500.
Yeah, the Turtle Beach is at this point like my most well-known headphone review. Right. I mean, it has the most views on my channel, and it also has like 600 likes and 12,000 dislikes.
I guess it doesn't matter, just as long as people are watching.
yeah, I think that's most of what does it. Although, you know, they say that I think I've heard that likes and dislikes count the same. So who knows?
I think they do. I think they just see it as fan interaction. They don't really care if it's positive or not. I do know that the more likes you have helps when people are searching out a certain product. I think that's the only time it really matters.
Yeah, you might be right. It's just weird that when I started doing this, it kind of was just an accident. Like, I had just gotten a PS4, and I wanted to get a headset. And so I went out and bought the Turtle Beach PX22, which I don't even think I ever reviewed. But it hurt my head, it hurt my ears, like it just was really uncomfortable. So I was like, okay, it's Christmas time. I'm gonna start reviewing these things just to tell people what is good or what's not, in my opinion. And I didn't expect anybody to really watch it.
Right.
But all of a sudden I was getting like a bunch of views on this stuff, and so it just kind of snowballed from there, where I was like, this is kind of fun. It's a fun hobby. And, you know, especially now that I get, you know, both of you and I think once you get serious about it, you want to start to be good about it, kind of start to figure out the best ways to do it to have the most impact, you know?
Yeah, I completely, because like when I started the channel, I really wanted the channel to be a gaming channel. I honestly thought, like, hey, everybody else is doing this. This should be easy to do. And then you realize, like, people do not care about your gaming stuff at all.
Right.
But I was huge about headphones, and I knew, like, I watched a lot of reviews, and I knew that I went through a bunch of headphones. So I figured, all right, well, the best thing might be to just start reviewing headphones. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of the same for me. Like, well, I started out I didn't know what I wanted the channel to be. I was just kind of doing it, and then the headphones thing kind of took off, and I tried to do a little bit of other audio related stuff as time was going on. But then, like, I just a few months ago signed up with the gaming network, I got very little gameplay on my channel. I've been doing more since I signed up with them just to see what would happen. But yeah, it's kind of a weird little niche that there are a lot of people just like kind of really enthusiastic about it, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's what's good now, is because it's gotten to a point where, like, a lot of my subscriber base are people that's into headphones. Like, you realize there's other people out there that are just as addicted as you are to this stuff. I think the one thing that I do want to talk about is and this comes up all the time, like, if I give a positive review about a headphone, like, everybody's first reaction is, you must be sponsored. They must have sent you that for free. And does that not get on your... it drives me insane.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people, like, when I really liked the Sony Gold Wireless. And what I ended up doing early on was just comparing the Gold Wireless to everything else. Right. To see if there was anything that was better than that. And I had a bunch of people coming on and like, oh, you're just like you work for Sony, blah blah blah. I was like, yeah, I wish I worked for Sony. I would,
yeah.
And when I first started, and same with you, like I didn't have any subscriber base. I had no way to prove to anybody that anybody was going to watch these videos.
Right.
So I was going out and like putting all this stuff on my Best Buy credit card and just taking it home, and then whatever I decided not to keep, I would return.
Right.
You know, but the weird thing is, this is a thing that's kind of weird to me about YouTube. There's all these people all over the place who aren't necessarily journalists. You know, they haven't really gone through that school and figured out and learned all the stuff about how to be somewhat unbiased, even though your opinion might be a part of the review. And so when I started sending out requests to companies and saying, hey, can you send me something to review, it was a huge point for me to not either dial it back so that I wasn't really saying anything about the headphone except for what the specs were.
Right.
But, you know, but also given my real honest opinion the same way that I've always tried to. So yeah, you know, I always say when something's been sent to me so that people know.
Right.
And I try, a lot of times I try and figure out a way to do a giveaway or something so that some of the stuff goes back to the crowd, you know?
Yep. I try to do that too. I started to think like I needed to say every time something was given to me, but I also decided that I didn't think it mattered because I will never agree to give a positive review on something. So I treat it like if something was sent to me is going to be the same way as if I bought it myself. And I just, because, or I mean, and it is a good chance to do giveaways for people because you don't have money invested in it. But that leads me to the next question I did want to, because people are always asking, how do I get my headphones?
Right.
So how do you go about, like, do you research stuff? Do you just go into a store and see what jumps out at you? Or because I do a lot of eBay shopping.
Right.
And I just scroll and scroll and scroll until something stands out.
Yeah, I mean, I do that on Amazon a lot, where I just go to Amazon and kind of look at what's out there. And I kind of, because I have a background in like audio recording and stuff, I already knew a lot of the companies that were making stuff. The gaming stuff was new to me when I started buying them.
Right.
And so it started out, I just was going to review a little bit of everything, trying to figure out what other people were reviewing on YouTube or whatever.
Right.
In terms of gaming headsets. And then I would cover all that stuff. And now it's like we got a second round of gaming headsets coming out for these consoles. So I'm just trying to pick up and do that next cycle. But when it comes to headphones and what I want to pick up to review, I try and keep my focus always on the idea that like I want to find the next thing that I would like to use for myself.
Right. Yeah, because I used to approach it in the wrong way. I used to approach it as in, all right, what is everybody going to want to look up? And it could even be me going and buying something that I don't even want or something I wouldn't be interested in just because I was trying to go for views and it was like the wrong way to do it. And I got miserable because you're listening to shitty headphones that you already knew was going to be bad, but just because you knew people were going to try and look it up just to get that exposure.
Right. Yeah. And I've done that a little bit, you know, and I always kind of try and think of it as research. Like part of what I want people to realize when they're looking at my videos and listening to my opinion about stuff is that what you buy at Best Buy, half the time, if not more, is not nearly as good as what you could get someplace else.
Right.
And so I always go into it thinking like, you know, maybe this will be something that's new and exciting. You know, maybe this company has figured out how to do low cost and high quality. A lot of times I'm disappointed though, but one company I will say has done that is Beats. And I guess I have a feeling it has something to do with Apple coming in and changing the way they do things. But I remember buying a set of the first Solos and taking them out to my car and trying them out. And the sound was so bad that I just put them back in the box and went back in the store and returned them.
I've done the same thing, and the Beats Solos are one of those that like everybody had to have because of it was all that they saw in commercials and this and that, but they were awful, and people didn't realize like the money that you could spend in that, they would be blown away by the stuff that they could actually get a hold of. But
Right.
you find out that most people are getting them just because they want to be seen a certain way, and it really wasn't for music quality, and it drives me insane.
Right. Or it's just like, you know, they kind of don't know maybe what range of stuff is out there.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about Turtle Beach that I felt about Beats. I mean, I've reviewed a bunch of Beats headphones on my channel now, and starting with the Studio Wireless, I started to be really kind of impressed with them, and my reviews on those have been pretty positive. Even like now the Beats Solo 3s, until they started freezing in...
Yeah, I heard about the your video on the battery issue.
Yeah, like they just, as soon as it dropped below freezing here, they would shut off in the cold.
That's crazy.
And the same thing happens with the Apple, you know, Lightning dongle. It freezes and shuts off too. But you know, on the gaming side, Turtle Beach, like, they seem to be the only game in town until you got to Astro, which was so much more expensive. And I was so unimpressed with the Turtle Beach stuff that I was trying that I wanted to see what else was out there that was better.
Right. And Turtle Beach has put out a lot of good headsets lately. But it's one of those too, like if you're so used to a company putting out products that aren't that great, you kind of have a hard time giving them a chance.
Right.
I mean, because like the Turtle Beach Elite 800s, they're expensive, but I actually liked them a lot. I like the fact that you could use them for gaming, but then go out and use them like as a Bluetooth set for your phone.
Right.
I like things that is kind of universal.
Yeah, and I tried the Elite 800s, and I actually liked them a lot. And I put them up against the Gen 2 A50s, and for my money, they kind of beat the Gen 2 A50s.
Right.
And ultimately, I mean, what ended up happening with me is, if I was just somebody who wanted to play some games and have a really good set of headphones, I would have kept those. But because I was like putting my own money out and I wanted to keep reviewing headphones, I've returned some things that I might have otherwise kept.
Right.
And you know, at least now that I am getting some stuff sent to me to review, it takes that pressure off, where I don't have to feel like, oh, you know, I can't keep this because it's so much money.
Right. I do the same thing because I see that, like with the Elite 800s, let's say if you bought it for retail and it's $300 that's sitting there, you see it as $300 that can go towards getting 2 other headsets that you can review. Like anything that I look at now is a matter of what can I get to review for the channel, and I don't really ever keep anything, which surprises people. People think that I have like a room full of headphones and headsets.
Yeah, I know. I remember looking at Bored at Work, his channel, where he has like the headphone wall of fame. He's got like 30 sets of headphones on there.
Right.
And ultimately, well, a good example is I bought the HyperX Cloud Stingers. I bought those with my own money, but they were $50.
Right.
And I really liked them. And ultimately, I ended up doing a giveaway for them because I felt like it was a good investment in the channel. Like $49 investment into the channel, maybe get some new people to find what I'm doing. So I figured that was something I could do as a giveaway. Otherwise, I would have kept them and been really, really happy with them.
Right.
But I'm always kind of thinking, and now it's sort of switched. Like I said, I'm still always looking for what will I keep? You know, what would I be happy with to use as my daily driver, as they say. Right now, that's the Astro A50 Gen 3. I like it because I can have it hooked up to my PS4, which is on my desk, but also have it hooked up to my PC and use it for both things.
Right.
But now I'm trying the Platinums, And the question is like, will I keep? I like those gold so much. Like, will the platinum be maybe what I keep? I have two PS4s at this point, the original, and I got the Pro, and maybe I'll put the platinums with my other PS4, just to use in the living room.
Right. And I see, like in your case, you have other mic options. So the mic, which is the weakest point in the platinum and the gold to me, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I didn't mind the gold mic as so much. I know it wasn't like super high quality, but now that we've got a set of Sony headphones that are $160, and I don't really think the mic quality has improved at all.
No, I think you were probably okay with the microphone because the headset was only $99.
Right. Right, and it did a lot of other stuff pretty well. It covered all the bases. The mic wasn't great, but I was willing to live with that. But that was one of the pushbacks I got from a lot of people who watched my gold videos was like, yeah, but the mic sucks so much.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, $99. What do you expect? But for 160, you start to get into that range of you can get a Sony or a Sennheiser Game 0 or a Game 1, and those mics crush. They're really, really good.
Yeah, the Sennheiser mics are going to blow them away, but I think what keeps people from buying the Sennheisers is a lot of people like bass in their games because of explosions and stuff like that. And Sennheiser is for a certain niche of people that like true sound the way it's supposed to be. It's not elevated, it's not pushed in certain areas, and
Right, and that's sort of my background, like I said, as somebody who has worked with audio like since I was 15 years old, and that's a long time at this point. You know, I really like the flat sound signature. That's more kind of a reference signature. I think what bums me out is a lot of companies will hype up the bass, but it won't be tuned very well. So it just gets really muddy down there.
Yeah.
And that's what really bums me out. But, you know, just listening to the Platinums seem to have pretty decent bass, but it's not very big.
Right.
Like I was impressed with, you know, playing Battlefield 1 and hearing the gunshots and the explosions. It seemed pretty well tuned, whereas the Astros are much more full sounding.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. It's a matter of taste.
It's ultimately they're more punchy than they are bloated, if that makes like any sense to anybody that's watching. But like, speaking of headsets and keeping them, the one headset or headphones that's, I don't know if you saw the video, this like the Superlux HD 668B. I found them for $40 online.
Oh, yeah.
And the pads that I replaced them with were $7, so like $50. Running them into an amp absolutely blows away these headphones that are $150, $200. But the problem is, like, people don't know about these other headphones, and I guess that's why, like, I know when I do a video on them that's not going to do as well as the others, but
right.
The people that do watch it, at least it exposes them to something like they wouldn't normally know about.
Right. Yeah, I just looked those up on Amazon, and I think I had these in a wish list to check out as well. I mean, for $40, what they look like is Audio-Technica has a bunch of headphones that use this same kind of wing design.
It's like the AT700s and 900s, I think.
Yeah, and for gaming people, they know that like Level Cap and a bunch of other people like that use those headphones and love them. But yeah, they're ultimately, like, if they're not in a store like Best Buy and you can't go in and look at them and say, oh yeah, maybe I'll try those, I don't think a lot of people dig deep into Amazon or eBay or other places to find stuff that might be comparably good as something that costs $100 more.
And I wonder if that's because people don't care enough, or if, because like I think the two of us would definitely be considered headphone geeks, to where we're searching out what's going to be better than everything that's out there without having to spend a fortune. Like, I'm always on the search. Even if I'm completely happy with a pair of headphones, yeah, I'm still going to look for something that's better than what I have.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, I don't know if it's people. I think a lot of people, if they don't really pay attention to this kind of stuff, if, you know, a set of headphones is just a way to get sound into your ears as opposed from speakers, you know.
Right.
Maybe those folks don't care, but maybe they would if people like you and I are kind of putting stuff out there to give them options.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where there are a lot of tech YouTubers who review a lot of different things. And, you know, while I don't necessarily want to be totally focused on gaming headphones, I don't think there are a ton of YouTubers out there who are always looking for the best, you know, reasonably priced gaming headset or ways to try the different stuff with their consoles or their PC.
Right.
I think you might be right. A lot of people might just want to have something they can plug in and listen to stuff, but, you know, sound is half of the fun of playing games.
Right. Completely agree. All right, so somebody in the chat is asking, and this could be a question for you because I know you're more familiar with Astros. They're asking the Astro A40 or the Turtle Beach Tournament Elite Pro. I don't know if you've tried the new Elite Pros yet.
I haven't. Are those the Xbox ones?
No, it's the new ones that they have that has a... It's weird because the ear cups have a cooling system in it to keep your ears cool. Okay. You can adjust the headband on the sides and up at the top. I think they retail for like $200, and then you have options to go buy the amp and buy other stuff with it. And I think like if they're pushing that you can go buy an amp, I wonder if they're really hard to push audio wise on consoles. So I'm not sure.
Right. I'm looking at the Elite Pro right now, just on a random website. I obviously haven't tried them. I will say this. I don't like the A40s. And the reason that I don't like them has the headphones themselves might be totally fine. And a lot of people like to use mix amps with other headphones, but the current TR version of the mix amp, I did some testing, and there's some videos on my channel that do some audio tests of what mic sounds like and other things coming through that most recent TR mix amp. They just seem to be messing it up.
Yeah.
The earlier mix amps sounded a lot better, and I mean it's one of those your mileage may vary kind of things. But this Elite Pro, I mean, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks like something different, which, you know, because Turtle Beach, most of the time you can look at their headset and tell that it's a Turtle Beach headset.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at these photos and they look, well, I mean, it's about when you pick up the headset,
right?
You know, especially with Turtle Beach.
These have a good weight to them. I did pick them up in Best Buy and try them on. Like, they did not have that fragile feel, that very thin plastic feel like most of the Turtle Beach.
Yeah, and you know, some people have told me, oh, you know, they want them to be light, so maybe that's true, you know, so that they're not.
Well, yeah, I mean, some people sit there all day and play, and I guess to keep the weight off their head for that, but you don't want it to feel cheap either. Right,
exactly. Well, this like mix amp looking thing that they've got here, the TAC, but it's an add-on.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, you got to think about it. It's $200 for the headset, and I think it's $200 for the amp. So you're at $400 in.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I couldn't justify that.
No, I don't think I'd want a set of headphones that can come with an amp, but don't.
Right.
When you can get the 850 for $3. Why go for, unless they've got some kind of magical fairy dust in them, I can't see paying an extra $400 or $200.
And they might. I didn't read the back of the box, so I'm not like, I didn't see where it said if fairy dust included.
Right. Yeah, it's like, so it's something I definitely want to check out. I mean, I'll try and do a review. I've been trying to get a hold of Turtle Beach to see if they'll send me some stuff, but
They're
I haven't had any luck.
They are the worst as far as doing that. And honestly, people think that I am sponsored by Skull Candy. They absolutely are the worst. They even tell you straight up that they don't have a program set out to send headphones to YouTubers. It may be something they do in the future. And yes, I know it's like a generic response that they're sending out, but they straight up do not send stuff out. So whatever is being reviewed is just whatever's out there. I mean, if anything, they should know. Most of the time I've been praising their products. You would think that they would send me even funnier than that. Like, I noticed a month ago that Skull Candy subscribed to my channel. So like they know who I am, and they know that I review their stuff. In fact, they've even like promoted my reviews on Twitter for their stuff, but they won't send me anything. So
yeah. Well, I mean, one thing about Skull Candy that I've always appreciated is they make pretty darn good headphones for pretty cheap.
Right.
You know, and especially compared to like, you know, they're kind of like right next to Sony in the Best Buy.
Yeah, they're always right next to the listening stations, are right by each other in every store that you go.
Yeah, and I guarantee you that's not by accident, because Skull Candy wants you to try the Sonys that are probably almost twice as expensive, and then come over to theirs, and you know, so maybe that's part of why they don't do a big program of sending stuff out. But Turtle Beach, both Turtle Beach and Steel Series, I've tried to get in touch with, because the most requested headset on my channel for a long time was the Steel Series H wireless, which I think now is like the 800 something or other.
Yeah, I get asked about that one too.
And the reason I never did it was because Amazon had two different products. They were named different things, and I emailed Steel Series to see like which is the more current product. They never returned anything, and they just don't. I mean, the new Arctis line that they've got, I'm thinking about grabbing all three of those and seeing what the differences are between them, and maybe the higher end one comparing to the Platinums and the Astros. But I found different levels of people wanting to deal with the outside world. Like Sony doesn't respond to anything.
Nope. And I'm a huge Sony fan. Again, they don't care about loyalty. They don't care if they think they're going to get a positive review out of it. They just don't. And it doesn't make sense to me, because I see it this way. If you have a YouTuber that has, we'll even say 1,000 subscribers. Okay, we're gonna go down to 1,000. Okay, if you have 1,000 subscribers and you do a video, and maybe 500 people see the video. Okay, if at cost, a headphone that retails for $200, you know Sony, it probably costs them $70 at most, maybe, to do it. And if you send out $70 headset or headphone to somebody, that's free promotion that these people are talking up your product. I don't think it's a matter of they're worried about like getting a negative review. I think they're pretty confident in their stuff. They just don't. I don't think they see the opportunity of what YouTube and reviews can really do for their stuff. I don't.
Yeah, it's kind of like Nintendo with streaming. Nintendo's always been fighting people over streaming, and
Nintendo is a very, very sore subject with me, because I started gaming because of the original NES back in 1980 whatever, and I want to support them, but to do stuff like having the classic NES come out and it, you know, there not being enough for anybody, like there's nothing to making that little system, and they just did it to get Nintendo back people talking about it. But now they're doing the same thing with the Switch, where you can pre-order it, but it's very, very limited with pre-orders, so not a lot of people are going to be able to get it. And
yeah, and I think they did that with the Wii and the Wii U too, where they had, you know, but they did that around the Christmas holiday,
right?
Like, you know, so now with the Switch, I mean,
it's in March.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, unless they're looking at like Easter or something, I don't know. And it's just kind of frustrating, and I don't know if it's because they're still, you know, both them and Sony are still predominantly kind of Japanese companies, and maybe there's a way of doing business that's not super familiar to us in the US, but I don't know. It's one of those things that.
But Apple kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, but I think Apple's just kind of, they know where they are in the market, and they don't have to give anything away.
It's arrogance. It's arrogance. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
they know that we could put out the same product we put out last year, you're going to buy it. Yeah. Or we can give you a feature that's been on a phone for whatever, but it's new to you, so you're going to buy this one. And I have nothing against Apple at all. I understand why Apple is good at what they do and why people enjoy Android. I understand the two separate. Some people think if you like one, you can't like the other. And I like them both. I just don't like some of the ways that they do business. It's just a personal thing.
Well, I've been an Apple user since, I think I had a Performa 2 back in 1988. That was the first like computer that I had. It wasn't even mine. It was my girlfriend's, and she kept it at my house. Like, and doing graphic design stuff and all that, I've been using Macs for all that time. But the problem is now I get ticked off because they're putting out products that take away features that are really important to people who don't just surf the internet. And
like the headphone jack.
Yeah. And like with their computers, taking away the SD card reader, taking away all the ports, and then jacking up the price of the MacBook Pros by $1,000.
And then you have to be that you could still get these other things to work. You just have to spend a lot of money on adapters, and your computer ends up having all these things hanging off the side of it just to get things to work.
Yeah. And I think both them and Sony, when it comes to their business model, they've got sort of a structure.
Those.
Yeah. But is that new BT, is it going to be like a sort of extra bass feature like the previous one?
It's going to have the extra bass feature. I know that they added active noise canceling to this one. As far as I know, that's the only difference.
Okay.
And I think there's just like there's a $50 price difference. So I think, right. Again, I've tried the other BT ones and I liked them a lot, but their price point of $200 is a little steep. So now the noise canceling ones are going to be $250, and there's way too many other good headphones out there.
Yeah, and I haven't found a set of Bluetooth headphones yet that, especially with noise canceling, that do all the stuff that I hope they will do.
Right.
Or at least do it well. 200 to 250 is kind of like a decent price point for a good headphone like that. I like having noise cancellation, but I found that it's got to sound good first.
Right.
And work well. Like the Bose QC35, my review of those is not positive. I don't know where I'm going to go with these Sony's, the NDR 1000X yet.
I liked them a lot. I think what gets me is price. Price is so high for something that you're getting incredible noise canceling, but I think you kind of lose out on sound. That in that price range, I guess again that's where, like, if you're in a $400 price range, you know what you're capable of getting out there with sound, but you're having to take a hit if noise canceling is important.
Yeah, noise canceling was always one of those things. Like Bose did have the whole market, and it was all geared toward, you used to be able to buy those Bose noise canceling headphones in Sky Mall.
Right.
And that was where they really started to get traction with that. So it's mostly travelers that really valued it. And it is great for that. You get on an airplane and you turn that stuff on, and it's a lot better.
But see, now Bose, I think this is the first time they have competition, because the Sonys are definitely competitive, and Sennheiser now has the PXC 550s that are supposed to be better than the Bose. I haven't tried those, so I don't know, but there's options now. Like Bose, I don't think owns that market. Now, people may not know about the other ones yet, but...
Well, one thing I agree with you in terms of the Sonys. I mean that the noise canceling, I might actually feel like it's better than Bose. And I've had the Bose QC2535 and the 15, and
I don't think it put as much pressure on my ears like the Bose do,
right.
and was still able to cancel out, if not more, the same amount of noise.
Yeah. So my day job is I run a writing program at a medical school, and I have students coming in a lot just to talk to me, but my office, my desk faces away from the door.
Right.
And so I was wearing those new MDR 1000Xs, and literally I had a student come in, and she was like yelling at me, and I couldn't hear her. She finally had to come up and like tap me on the shoulder. And the Bose canceled out stuff really well, but I could usually hear somebody trying to talk to me if they're in the room.
Right.
So
yeah, and it's hard to explain to people how good the noise canceling is, because you can't, as a reviewer, like, you want to tell them how good it is, but without them putting it on their ears, there's honestly like no way that you, and everybody's different too. Like the pressure that I felt with Bose, some people said they didn't feel, and some people said they felt it way worse and they couldn't even have the headphones on. So as a reviewer, like, you're walking that fine line of just telling them how you feel, and if they don't agree with you, they're gonna let you know.
Right. Yeah, it's one of so the QC25s from Bose, those had that pressure, like it was putting pressure on my ears somehow. Right. And it was really uncomfortable. The 35s didn't have that, but they, now that I've tried the Sonys, they feel better than any of the Bose that I tried. And the only way that I can explain the sensation of it is, it's like a sensory deprivation tank. Like you put it on and you flip on the noise canceling, and all of a sudden it's just like, wonk,
yeah,
and there's no sound.
Right. And then when you play music, it's weird listening or turning it on without having music on. It's really weird. But when you turn music on, it tends to help alleviate some of that, but it's an odd sensation. Yeah,
and I think you're right. There are a lot of people who either really like it or not, and some people that might cause like to be really uncomfortable. But
and I think sometimes like it's something you just have to get accustomed to. Like if you're used to using headphones where you don't feel that, then in your mind you think when you put a pair of headphones on, it should always feel like that. As to where, like, some people can only use open back headphones. They don't even like the feel of having a closed back set of headphones on their head.
Right. Yeah, and the interesting thing to me is, like, from a sound standpoint, so this might go back to the question that your viewer was asking. When you're using noise canceling, you have to remember that you're always getting some kind of software altering the sound of what you're listening to. That's the noise canceling. It uses microphones and it uses a lot of dynamic signal processing to create that noise canceling effect.
Right. It's trying to mimic sounds that are going on around you. So within doing that, like, you're getting compression on your sound that you're not getting a straight from the source sound that you may be used to in another headphone. So if people are looking for noise canceling headphones, I don't think you can compare them to headphones that aren't noise canceling, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, ultimately what's coming through the noise canceling headphones is never going to sound exactly like, I don't want to say better or worse than a pair of headphones that just has one cable that goes from your device into the headset.
Right. Yep. All right, so I think we've talked for over 40 minutes.
Hey, it's cool. I like talking about this stuff. I don't have a ton of people to talk to this about, which is part of the reason why I do the videos.
That's exactly why I do YouTube, because in a town of my size or any size, like, you can't just walk up to people and start talking about headphones because most of them aren't gonna care. Yeah. But if you do a video, somebody searched out that video because they had that interest in that headphone or headset. That gives you a platform to start I really enjoy replying to comments and answering questions, because it is interaction with people that are interested in that same stuff that people in your town, they don't know what you do. They don't care about headphones, or maybe they do, but you can't just go up and talk to random people about it.
Right. I mean, even in Best Buy, I've had the experience of talking to, you know, one of the clerks at Best Buy and talking about headphones or talking about any of the gear that's at Best Buy, and I know that I know more than them.
Right.
And they start to look at me a little weird, like
they almost feel threatened in a way that I did this, and I probably shouldn't have done this. I walked into Best Buy, and there was a lady asking the guy questions about headphones, and I just am overhearing him talking about it, and I knew like at least 2 or 3 of the things he said was completely false. So I didn't want to interact while he was still there, but when he walked away, like, I had to say, all right, look, this is what you're looking for. This is what he said here was wrong. So if you bought this, you're wasting this money. I don't want to come across as arrogant, but like, I don't know. Like, it's nice to come in and help people, and I guess that's what YouTube is doing for me anyway.
Yeah, I've done the same thing in Best Buy a couple of different times, and like I did the same thing as you did, where it's like I listened to the guy or gal doing their spiel, and then when they walk away, I might just come up and be like, hey,
yeah,
you know, this is this and this is this. I think, but I also know that Best Buy, they aren't commissioned, but they're definitely trained to with at least with a certain amount of talking points.
Right.
So if you go to high-end audio and it's not a Magnolia store,
right,
they'll take you immediately to Sonos,
right,
and talk you through the Sonos stuff, and then they'll take you down the tier, which I get it. And if that's what you're trained to do, that's not and you don't know anything else.
Well,
okay.
I think too, they drop these employees in not in a specific area. They want them to learn about headphones. They want them to learn about cameras so that they can kind of bounce around the store. And so I don't think there's any like specialists, and maybe Best Buy just doesn't treat it that way, but that's just the way it comes across, is like, this person trying to help me in headphones can also go over and sell me a refrigerator. It's just weird.
Yeah, and I have to imagine the turnover. I mean, I know I've seen so many different faces coming through working at Best Buy. I imagine their turnover is pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
You know, so there aren't too many people that I've seen at my Best Buy stay there for the past like 5 years or whatever.
Right.
So it's weird though. It's because I feel like I got a stern talking to from my local Best Buy general manager.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, because one of the people that worked there told him that I do YouTube videos, and he came up and he started like, oh, you know, we can't have this, blah, blah, blah. And part of me wanted to be like, look, guy, I mean, I spend a ton of money in here.
Right.
The policy, you guys had the policy, and it clearly states what I can and can't do. I get it, you know, maybe that it's not making you look good or something, but
yeah.
But, you know, but I was cool about it, and I was just like, yeah, I get it, I understand. And I think that's, for me, like, as my channel's starting to transition over to, I'm getting more stuff from manufacturers, I don't have to abuse the policy as much as I used to.
Right. Yeah, I get leery about doing that too. Like, you feel bad about it, but at the same time you don't. You know that they're getting credit for their product that's being returned or whatever. They just don't like the numbers of, all right, well, this dollar amount is being returned, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I basically said, like, man, I've spent thousands of dollars here this year. So it's not like I'm just coming in and taking stuff and then bringing it back and not spending any money.
Right. All right, so we've got to end it here, I think.
Right,
it's like 45. I really appreciate it. We definitely need to do it. We're not even going to try to schedule it because there's no way that that's going to work. We just have to have it pop up and just happen like this. So
yeah, exactly. I enjoyed it, man. I appreciate it.
I did too. Everybody make sure to search out the JTL. I will try to figure out how to get a link and all that stuff up there, but it's easy. Just look up the JTL and you won't regret it. And I appreciate you coming on. This is Like I said, we definitely need to do this again.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. It was fun.